capability to work through things like Facebook and Twitter, social networks, that we never had when we were younger. God, I sound like a real I think it's really important to connect with grassroots people, and perhaps we should have done that better previously. But I think one of the fundamental things that we should have done earlier was recognise the need to integrate conservation approaches, building national parks, building infrastructure, building opportunities for communities, so that communities can recognise that there's actually enormous opportunities for them to be able to capitalise upon and do things differently than they were in the 1950s and 1960s, which is such a bygone era. We need to move to something new. And we should have recognised that we should have given agencies, government, community, the recognition, the information to show them that there are significant amounts of money, significant community support for these kinds of things that means that they have community ownership in very important ways that I've seen change places like Geeston in Tasmania, change places like Tiano in New Zealand, change places in the Western Macdonnell Ranges around the Larapinta Trail. And so we didn't build the constituency to show people that there was an alternative way, an exciting way that does create jobs, creates more jobs than what we're doing now, creates more opportunities, more excitement, more people that want to come to Victoria to see these natural assets that are really important for what makes this a special place, what makes this a special place, and the people in these areas special people. And we should have done that, we should have done it earlier, we should have articulated better and built that constituency. And I think if I had my time again, we would work much harder to make sure that happened. And I hope that there are people out here that will take that case and work with it much harder, because it is an exciting opportunity to truly transform this, to help rebuild places like Marysville, to build places like Healesville, to build places like Warburton and others, and make them places that people want to come to from around the region, around Victoria, around Australia, and from overseas.
I'll be loud. My name's Brad Lemon. I'm Tired Lemons on Twitter. And I just want you to be very clear. Is there any room for clear filling in our forests whatsoever?
No.
Thank you.
That was so concise, I think we have time for one more question. Maybe two, because I can see, oh, there's one over there as well. We make these the last three, is that okay? So, gentlemen...
I'll try with that microphone.
Yes, I can.
My name's Graham Taylor, and I'm not a supporter of yours, but I do appreciate everybody at the same tonight. I'm very heavily involved in the tourism industry, and I've worked very closely with the regeneration of Marysville since 2009.
Yeah.
A lot of us have worked very hard to rebuild that area. And the DEPI in Marysville would be absolutely horrified to hear what you said tonight, because they have just created one of the greatest series of walking tracks and tourism enterprise around Stephens Falls area in the tourism industry has ever seen. And that's now been very heavily promoted by Tourism Victoria. I really wonder, and you did say yourself earlier that you're not a tourism expert, who amongst your team could I make contact with to present the tourism aspect of what you're talking about to the tourism industry currently existing in this area?
Sure, I'd be happy to talk to you, but I'm sure that David and Lockie would be too. And we have other contacts, particularly through Griffith University, that have expertise in that area who I've been consulting with about these things. I can also say today that we did walk a number of other tracks further out from Marysville that are pretty spectacular places, for example, Camberville, and extraordinary places, but the tracks need a lot of work. The infrastructure needs a lot of work to make them attractive places to
bring work very hard on their way out. Some people done a lot of hard work in 3 years, I think.
Sure, absolutely.
And I think the community would be disappointed to hear that the approach has been taken, that there hasn't been that sort of work done, because Marysville has
Robin Racing. Thank you for a really interesting talk. I think the plan you propose would have the support of many people in this room, but obviously there's some really radical differences to the current management that's happening in these forests. And I was wondering if you could provide us with a bit more information about what you see the next steps forwards are in terms of management planning and current policies.
Okay, I've written to the Minister and a number of, at both levels, federal and state, and their respective minders and other people in the state government. The first step, as I talked about, was the need for an expanded national park that has a new name, and the boundaries are still up for discussion. The second part of those prescription documents that we've written are for what needs to take place in the off-reserve area, and I pointed out some of those really important things that need to be done in terms of the protection of the large trees, the expanded streamside reserve area, the expanded area of old forest. So there's actually a list of those things to do. I also think that there's a need to look very deeply at some of the structural issues in the industry at the moment. For example, big forests made a profit over the last 5 years of $1 million, roughly $200,000 a year, but at the same time received $25 million in bushfire grants. So that suggests to me that that particular organisation is not travelling as it might be in terms of providing a return on investment. And I think that that's a really significant issue, to have a look at these kinds of organisations and the finances, the costs and benefits, and to rethink some of those kinds of things in a fairly strong, transparent and rigorous and quantitative way, to really see whether or not the public is receiving the maximum benefit for the public resource. I think that's really critical, because in the end it will be, unfortunately, but reality is that will be economic arguments that become important. And I think that it's pretty clear from what I've seen that the economic arguments around water, I think even under a direct action plan, under the incoming new government, will indicate that the carbon values of these forests are highly significant. And we've looked at that. We've actually done some quantitative work on that. Heather Keith has been leading that. So these things start to begin to stack up in terms of whether the existing approach is appropriate or whether a different one is appropriate. And I think the latter is clearly the case.
Diane, who's been running around with the mic, actually has a question, so I think we have to... she's got the mic, so I can't find it.
I'd like to actually respond to Mr Taylor's question response before. I'm a tourist operator as well, and I am dealing with tourists, hundreds of tourists, thousands of tourists a year, and I experience a lot of disappointment from tourists who are wanting to go bushwalking, who are wanting to experience the forest, but can't because of the logging, because tracks haven't been maintained, because signage is very poor. Now yes, Marysville has had a lot of attention because of bushfire affected communities from Black Saturday. So we're not denying, or I'm not denying, that the attention hasn't been given to the bushwalking tracks around that area. But the Yarra Ranges is a huge area, and where I live, no attention has been given. The zip line was very, very disappointing to a lot of the community members in that area where the zip line was proposed. But a lot of support has been given to logging. Now, I feel very frustrated as a tourist operator who I enjoy the forest. I try and recommend areas for my guests to go to, but I have to suggest Marysville as an example, not just down the road from my business. So what I experience is very frustrating is that, and I also appeal to you, how does a community person, as myself, and a tourist business operator appeal to local government and the tourist industry to support my business and also look after us, not just a small section of the community?
Maybe afterwards, because we do have two more people who have already got questions. David, do you have a response to that, or would you rather take it as a comment?
I'd rather talk about it with both people at the end, actually.
Oh, okay.
I'd like to follow up on that comment and have a personal discussion.
Okay, okay, that would be good if we can do that. There was a gentleman just over here and then a lady here. Okay. And that'll be the last two questions.
I'm Rich, I'm a psychologist, and you can stop having a sleepless night. It's not your fault. It's not your fault that you haven't been able to communicate. Information is very important for scientists, but the people you're trying to convince, politicians, bureaucrats, are not scientists. They don't follow the same way of thinking as you do. So maybe you need some cooperation from people who are communication experts to get your message across.
Yes. Very good. Very good.
Thanks, Bob. And last question down the front here.
Hello everyone, my name is Amelia, I'm the Campaigns Manager at the Wilderness Society. Thank you David and Chris, both of you, for your wonderful presentations. I've got a question about how everyone here tonight can contribute to achieving the vision that you've outlined today. This is a vision that's very close to our organisation's heart and is something that our members and supporters have been working very hard to achieve for a number of years now, together with everyone who has helped put on this evening. And I'd like to hear a lot more from yourself and from Chris and anybody else about what everyone here tonight who's interested in making this a reality can do to help.
Well, I'm not a campaigns person nor a campaigns manager, and there are others more qualified than me to talk about these things, but I think it is really important to articulate your vision and do it often. I think to capture people's imagination about this place, to let them know more about it, including places like Marysville, which was very close to my heart. I lived there for some time with my partner. We had a long-term relationship with the Nandi Vineyard Lodge that was there. Brought a lot of people into the town, and I think that illustrates the importance of letting people know. Most Melburnians still don't know about this area and all the amazing things that it has to offer. There is also an event coming up in a couple of weeks' time where you can write to politicians and you can indicate to them what you think and why you think it and why it's important, and offer them a way forward if you want that change. And I think that's really important. That's what a democracy is supposed to be about. You let people know what you think, you write letters, you indicate why you have the particular visions or the particular desires that you have, and you continue to do those kinds of things, indicate what the benefits are. I think it is really important for this particular area to think deeply about what an altered trajectory, what an altered vision looks like, what sorts of things could be done here, what are the ideas that can be stolen from other places. Politicians are very unlikely to be the first to lead on things, but they will jump when they can see that it's been done elsewhere or it works elsewhere. And if you can give them concrete examples of where it has been done, I think that becomes really important and instructive for them, because they feel as though they're not the first ones out of the blocks, but there's others in front of them, so that they realise that there's a strong path for them. So that I think there are things to do. There are others in the audience and elsewhere that will have additional ideas, better ideas, better articulated ideas than the ones that I have. But that's at least a start.
Thank you for all those questions. That was a really good range of questions. All the questions were excellent. And we do have a prize to give for a star question. The prize is Forest Phoenix, which is a book written by David, Lockie and Sam. Fabulous photographs of a forest recovering after the 2009 fires. And it's difficult to select one of those excellent questions as being the star question of the night, but we have decided that because it was a question that talks about the future and up-and-coming scientists, a new generation stepping into place, the question goes to, I think it was Sam from Lincoln. And finally, I would just like to thank you all for coming out this evening. I think it's been a really useful night. Some incredible information has been passed to you now, and it's up to you to take it away and do something concrete with that information. I'd like to invite Chris and David to come back, and please join me in thanking Chris and David. Appreciation to give to David, who's given up so generously his time to join us this evening. So, thanks, David. So that concludes the formal part of this evening. Thank you all again for joining us this evening. I hope you found it both fascinating and useful. And there will be some discussions afterwards, obviously. So don't feel that you have to be thrown out the door. And do make sure you've seen George, the Leadbeater's possum, in the foyer on your way out if you didn't see him on the way in. So thanks again. Thank you.